Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Shemel, Shabbat Shemakakudah. Shalom to the hopeful elect out there. I'm going to entitle this video, Let All the Men of War Draw Near. This is from Joel 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, the nations, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. So now what I'm going to do this. Let me go to the RSV. Proclaim this among the nations, prepare war, stir up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Let's go to the NIV. Proclaim thee this among the nations prepare war, rouse the warriors, let all the fighting men draw near and attack. Rouse meaning to get ready, to get them ready. Let's go to the NLT. Say to the nations far and wide, get ready for war. Call out your best warriors. Let all your fighting men advance for the attack. Now, this is a future prophecy concerning Armageddon, the war of Armageddon, the Third World War, the destruction of this place, the destruction of Babylon. So what I did was I typed in the word war in the search engine of the blue letter. So now this should be, or could be, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles and nations, prepare war, rouse up. Prepare war means what? You're training for war. You train for war in a time of peace. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. It could be let all the men, women, and children of war draw near, especially children. So let me go here. Okay, this is a short that was put up by Deacon Hakar. And it's entitled Black Kids Dancing, Eating Fish Sticks, while other nation kids get ready for war. That's why I opened the opening scripture that I pulled up was the scripture that you just read in a couple of different versions. And all says the same thing. No matter what version you go to, it says the same thing. Get prepared for war, rouse up for war, train for war. So let me do this. This is in China. These kids look like they might be 4 or 5 years old. And these are J kids dancing. And I mean, J kids learn how to use weapons, but they kill themselves, which is shows that this is a We're backwards right now. We're going backwards. And Esau sets it up that way. He would never teach Jake war when he's 4 or 5 years old. Give me a second. Let me bring it back up. Okay, here it is again. You can see that they're breaking down a 9 or Glock 9. They're breaking it down. They're breaking it down. That's a whole class. Let me put that up again. They have the military fatigues on. Do you think they're just going to stop at 9s? They're going to go to the high-powered rifles, whether they're, I don't know what the rifle of choice is for China or in Japan or any place else, but I would think the number one assault weapon out there is, as far as I know, is the Kalashnikov, the AK-47. The K stands for Kalashnikov, which that's the man that invented the gun, and it was superior to all other guns. The M16, it doesn't. You could, if it goes underwater, nothing will affect that gun. In sand, certain like M16s and so forth. If you read the history of guns and ammo, the M16 will get clogged up like in sand and mud, and the Kalashnikov is far superior to all those guns. Now, is there a gun better than that? I don't know. Somebody got to tell me. But if they're what I said, if they look like they're 4, maybe 5 years old, no more than 5 years old, kindergarten, they're learning how to break. This would never be taught in America among Edomite kids, let alone J kids. Damn sure not J kids. So 2 years from now, they done mastered this. If you can break down a gun the way they were breaking it down, like I said, they're gonna move to other things. They're gonna learn martial arts. They're gonna learn jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. They're gonna learn. They're gonna learn how to use a knife, a dagger, the certain points, the kill points. So they're getting ready for war, just like Joel 3 verse 9 says. And Joel 3 verse 9 is a future prophecy. It's getting ready to happen this year, next year. It's pretty much happening now with the situation over Ukraine. Pretty much that situation with the Russians at war with Ukraine is pretty much a world war. But the NATO nations and the BRIC nations and the other nations that are allied with Russia, they're not actually doing anything. They're supplying weapons because the Chinese just started supplying weapons to Russia. And the U.S. has been supplying money and weapons to Ukraine since the beginning. Since this is a year. This war took place a year ago. This is more than a year and a month in. And it doesn't look like it's going to slow down. So you have the NATO nations, you have the nations allied to Ukraine, and they won't allow Ukraine to join the NATO, because if they join NATO, then the NATO nations, which includes the U.S., Canada, they're talking about Finland. They want Finland to be in there. Finland was at war with Russia. They wouldn't allow Finland to be a part of the NATO nation because that means Third World War. That's what Joseph Biden said. He said, "Are we going to get involved?" One of the press people asked him, "Are we going to get involved in this war?" And he said, He said no, because that would mean World War III, and World War III means the war to end all wars. But it's a Cold War. When you supply, look, the Koreans, right? The Koreans would have been wiped out by the U.S. had it not be for the Chinese. That war against Korea, you have what's called it's DMZ, was it DMZ, the demilitarized zone. You have what do you call it? Like it's like a mirror. Like for every one man on South Korean soil, they have a weapon pointed at the a mirror of themselves on the south side. So if there's 1,000 men out there on the south side, there'll be 1,000 on the north side. Talking about North and South Korea. And so what Esau does is a thing called divide and conquer, where he'll take a nation and he'll cut it up into two. First of all, North Korea and South Korea, they're all related to each other. The same thing happened to the Sudan. Esau went up in there and took part of the Sudan, so you have North Sudan and South Sudan. At one time, you had one Sudan. That's called divide and conquer. So Vietnam, the Korean conflict, they were all supplied by China. And a lot of the Chinese soldiers were out there fighting, and you would think they were Vietnamese or Korean. They wasn't. They were Chinese. If it wasn't for the Chinese, the U.S. would have took Korea over, the whole Korea, and would have took the Nam over. The Nam, Vietnam, the Nam won the war because the U.S. the French was in there and they pulled out, and the U.S. came up in there almost at the end of the war, which lasted for years, and they pulled out, and ultimately, Vietnam, the system that they're under is communist. Why communism? Because it was the Chinese, which is a communist nation, that was helping them out. The same thing with Cuba. During the Batista era, this is before Fidel came on the scene. They showed in the movie the Godfather series. I believe it was Godfather 2, where the mafia was all down there in Cuba, opening up casinos and stuff. And that was in the middle of the war when Fidel wanted to take the place over, take Cuba over. And what happened was the U.S. could have just destroyed Cuba and killed Fidel, but guess what? Fidel accepted help from the Russians. That's why Cuba is a communist country. There's two major powers, two major political powers. That's the democracy and communism. That's how they scared the boys in the U.S. to go to war. Don't let communism gonna come over here. So you see the video, right? You see that these kids are no more than 5 years old, and they're experts in breaking down a Glock 9. This same kid right here, how good is he going to be when he's 10 years old, when he's 12 years old, when he's 15 years old? And there's over 1 billion people in China. The Chinese people, they can they can call for a million-man army, a million-man army, and sacrifice them. And if that's nothing to over 1 billion people. So the world is getting prepared, man, from the time that they're kids. So let me do this. Okay, this right here, It says children as young as 4 given war lessons and presented guns in Vladimir Putin's Russia. So let me hit this. You see this guy, he's got all these different weapons, and the kids in the background are not even kindergartners. They're they're 4 years old. This is pre kindergarten. They're not even 5 years old. Children as young as 4 given war lessons and presented guns, given guns in Vladimir Putin's Russia. So the whole nation is a nation of warriors. A shocking video shows Officer Pavel Fizov from a militaristic pro-Kremlin movement teaching preschool children about machine guns and anti-tank grenade launchers. So let me come back over here. Bear with me for a minute. Come back again. Come back one more time. Okay, so what I did was I typed in Russia teach should have put teaches their kids war, but their kids war. Is Russia preparing kids for war? Moscow rolls out Soviet era. Reports have mentioned that the initial military training programs will include teaching children how to assemble and disassemble firearms. Russian schools are teaching 3-year-old Russian schools are teaching 3-year-olds propaganda. Ukraine, how Russia is molding minds of kids to support war. But every nation does that. Teach kids so that they are proud of war. Russian, I'm not going to read the rest of it. Russian schools introduce a series of new classes called Important Conversations, in which teachers have to talk about war, obviously. Russian students return to school with new Kremlin. Let me click on this. It's not scary to die for the motherland. Russian students return to school with new Kremlin designed classes to instill patriotism and love for their country. And that's what they do in America. Right, the Z on the t-shirt, as you can see here. When this was like a year ago, when the Russians came in with the tanks, they had Z on their tanks. It says a group of people, including a boy wearing a t-shirt with the letter Z, which has become a symbol of support for Russian military action in Ukraine, poses for a picture on Red Square in mid downtown Moscow. I'm sorry, downtown Moscow. But all nations teach their children about war, like the GI Joes. What was the GI Joes all about? They're teaching kids about war. So let me go to images. Let's see what comes up. Okay, look at that. Putin's teeny army, Russian children. I believe that's a Kalashnikov, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like a Kalashnikov. This kid must no more than 6 years old. And that's why these Russians, these boxers, they come over here, they can compete with Jake. It is one boxer. Well, both of the light heavyweight boxers, what's his name? Bavo. He beat I hope I'm saying his name right. He beat the brakes off of Canelo. But then you got this other guy. He's like a wrecking machine. He just walks through Jakes. He just walks through Jakes, man. I gotta forget his name. It'll come back to me. Man, these Russians, man, they're fighting machines, man. And the Russian men, they're not afraid of Jake. In sports, they're not. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is grooming 42,000 kids as young as 10 at military schools and patriotism project compared to the Hitler Youth. So you get them started when they're 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old. So when they're 15 years old, they're ready to go to war. The Chinese teach their kids war. Just China teaching their kids how to war. Little Soldiers examines China's military-like education system. So a big part of their education system is learning how to break down guns and learning war. Back to School, Japan offers Sun Tzu Art of War. That's a book that's dedicated to war. The strategies of war. Children and War Education in Maoist era China, 1949 to 1976. Yeah, because between those years, they were backing Vietnam and they were backing Korea or North Korea, ultimately North Korea. So what I did here, I put in the word war, and it comes up 225 times. And see, Esau knows what he's doing and not teaching Jake how to use guns in school. Although Jake winds up learning how to use guns any damn way, but they kill themselves. Um, Now, when Esau, when Esau, when he drafts, or you got Jake to join the military, Jake. There's a lot of Jakes out there that do major damage, man. You know, you got so many Jake men and women. A lot it seem like more women Jake than men go join the military. The 4 or 5 branches of the military. So Jake, they're experts in. There's one guy I went to auto mechanic school with. He was in the military. He was only 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. And I remember he was in the military, and they taught him everything about how to wire bombs. And he used to always say, he said, "You fuck with me." He said, "I'll wire your car up." And, you know, and I would laugh. But he would talk about how he was an expert on explosives. That, or the spook that sat by the door, that was a man that was supposedly trained in the CIA. I don't know if that was a true story or whatever. He was trained by the CIA, and he went back to the hood and he taught all the tactics to Jake in the hood. And I believe that was based in Chicago, because they call you spooks. They call you ends, but they also call you spooks. So they know what they're doing. Esau's not a dummy. So this is Exodus 1 verse 10. Come now, come on, let us deal wisely with them. This is after the Egyptian that loved Joseph, a new Pharaoh, the Egyptian Pharaoh, a new Pharaoh came along, and he said, we got to enslave these people because they're going to, they're going to come get us. They're going the old saying is, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war like of another nation, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Now, when you go back to slavery, the reason why slavery was Lincoln called for an emancipation proclamation. Emancipate means to hand over. What he did was, he was an enemy to the southern states below the Mason-Dixon line. That's the southern states. And to punish them, he said, we're gonna go to war with you, and we're gonna take your slaves, and they're gonna be our slaves, because you never were free. So when that was happening during that time period, around that time period, you had the British. They were calling for Jake to join the British Army so they can defeat America. Because remember, the 13 original colonies broke off from Britain, and Britain was always trying to get the 13 original colonies back. So they saw that Jake was in slavery, so they said, we're going to help Jake. We'll give you freedom, and you'll fight for us. So this is what the Egyptians thought about. They said, and then who did they kill? The babies. There was a men babies. Let me see something. Uh, mm, let me try this. Let me try this. Okay, I think I got it. Let's see if it comes up. Okay. Okay, Exodus 1 verse 19. And the midwife said, unto Pharaoh because I got to go up. Definitely got to go up. A couple of verses. Okay, here it is. So the Pharaoh gave an order to the midwives, and he said, Exodus 1 verse 16, and he said, when ye do the office of midwives to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be now in modern medicine, they lay you flat. You're supposed to squat down. If it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then then she shall live. So why was that? Because a man is a masculine force. Women are not warriors. They're not built for war. Although in this country they create women warriors. But the midwives feared the Most High. So these midwives had to be Israelite women, and did not, as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the children. Now the word children alive means men. Let's go to that. Okay, it's not men, it's Yalad, which means boys. Yalad. The Irish called boys lad. Where do you think they got it from? The Hebrew. Child. It's not child, it's son. Son or boy, offspring. Male offspring, son, boy. Now, if it was a woman, it would be Yalada. Yalad means boy. Yalada means girl. It's a boy in the feminine sense. So let's come back over here. That's why it's good to know have some understanding of the Hebrew. I'm sorry, let me come back up to 16. So the Pharaoh said, if it's a boy child, kill it. If it's a female child, let the female child live. But the midwives feared the Most High and did not, as the king of Egypt or Mizraim commanded them, but saved the men, children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing and have saved the men children? And the midwife said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and which is true, and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. Not like if we turn our head, the baby just pops out. But I mean, they did have power to kill the babies, but they lied to the Pharaoh. Therefore, the Most High dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And see, this is why all the focus is on the Israelites and not on the Black conscious community. They're not going after the new Black Panther Party. The real fear is of the Israelites, of the one Westers. Because that's a fulfillment of one of my favorite prophecies, Ezekiel chapter 37. Let me read on. Therefore, the Most High dealt with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. That's what's happening right now. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared the Most High, that he made them houses. Most High blessed the midwives. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born, ye shall cast into the river, drown them, and every daughter ye shall save alive. Because the so-called wise men, the stargazers, the magicians of the Chaldeans and so forth, the wise men, the men that saw the future, they told Pharaoh that the Most High bringing a deliverer. Same thing happened with our Lord Yahushua. That's why Herod said, tell me of him so I may worship him. He didn't want to worship him, he wanted to kill him. Then one of Herod's sons said that when they caught up with the Lord, they said, I want to meet this guy. I want to meet this guy. I heard he performs miracles. I want to meet this guy. He was like excited to meet our Lord. So now let's come back. So I put in the word war. I'm not going to read all these precepts. Let me read Exodus 13, verse 17. And it came to pass, and by the way, all the tribes were warriors except for the tribe of Levi. But ultimately, the main warriors was Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. And it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go, that the Most High led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For the Most High said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war and they return to Egypt. Because you got to understand, when our foreparents was led out of Egypt, they were scared. They wound up going into the wilderness for 40 years, man. There was no lights. There was nothing out there, man. There was no 7-Elevens, no supermarkets. They didn't have cable TV. They were just in a place of darkness, no man's land. But guess what? You had a gigantic UFO that gave them light at night and performed miracles, gave them quails, gave them manna. Most High was with them. Hey, that's why these small hats want to be us so bad, because they know that these are the people of the Most High. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Yahweh is his name. Exodus 17 and 16, where he said, because Yahweh have sworn that Yahweh will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. And who are the Amalekites? Who are the descendants of the Amalekites? So it says right here from 20 now, Sakari teaches that a man becomes a man when he's 20. No, a man becomes a man when he's 12. But a man is required to fight in the war, in the army of Israel, when he's 20. Because that's when you're at your prime. When you're 12 years old, you're a man. You can give birth. You can lay with a woman and have babies through when you're 12 years old. The thing called puberty, plays a role in that. But you're still growing. You're still developing. Like a kid that's 6'2" and he's 11, 12 years old, they already know he's gonna grow another 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. So about the age of 20, that's when you're full grown. That's when you're not going to get any taller after 20. Your growing years is between being born up until you're 18, 19. There's certain kids, 16 years old, they might be 5'8", and then next year they come in, they 6'2". They might be skinny and lanky, but they might have, filled out. It says from 20 years old. Like I remember this one kid, his brother, and this one kid, he was like a little punk, but he was like a little scrawny Jake. But then he went to prison. When we came out, he motherfucker looked like Hercules, man. And see, when you have muscles and you built and all that, you got your confidence. His brother was this fighter. He wasn't a fighter, but he became a fighter. So when I saw him, I said, yo, oh my goodness, what the fuck? That nigga was built, man. It says, from 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel, thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies. And Aaron and the priest blessed them too. That's where Esau gets. They have chaplains in the military. They got that from the book, from the scriptures. Now, when you read these verses down from the 20th verse on down, it mentions all the tribes that I'll have to go to war. The tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Simeon, the tribe of Gad, the tribe of Judah. Teach Judah the use of the bow. The tribe of Issachar, the tribe of Zebulun, the tribe of Joseph, which is Ephraim. The tribe of Manasseh, Benjamin. Oh, when you go into the breakdown of Benjamin in Genesis 49, it says that Benjamin's going to raven as a wolf. And Ariel would break it down like it's talking about these songs of Babylon coming down, which is correct. But raven means to take the spoils, because it says that. Let me go to this. Where's Benjamin at? Genesis 49. Okay, Benjamin. Benjamin's only here written here one time in Genesis 49:27. Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. So now I'm going to give you the definition of raven, right? In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. And morning is talking about our morning. Our morning is Esau's what? Night. That's why it speaks about noonday. The destruction is going to come at noonday in Psalms 91. It's not talking about noonday. It's talking about the height of Esau's system. So let's read this again. Benjamin, Bunyamin, son of the right, shall raven as a wolf. I'm gonna go into the word raven, like I said. In the morning, our morning, which is the kingdom, the beginning of the first day of our kingdom is the morning of our kingdom. Benjamin shall devour the prey. And at night, whose night? Esau's night. He shall divide the spoils. Let's look up the word raven. And part of raven, the word raven is to sing songs, chant down Babylon. The word is tarap. to tear, rend, pluck, to tear, rend, to be torn in pieces, and none can deliver, to be torn in pieces, to provide food, take their spoils. They're going to be robbed. Give me a second. I want that out of the NLT. Which scripture did I just read that brought to mind? Give me a second here. Give me a second. At night he shall divide the spoils. Oh, shall devour the prey. This is what I was thinking of. Micah. Micah 5. And we can start at the 7th verse. And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people of nations, and that includes Benjamin, as a dew from Yahweh, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. You ain't gonna be able to stop Jacob. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep. And that's also talking about wolves. The Lord compared Benjamin to wolves. And what do wolves do? They move in packs and they tear with the teeth. The flock of sheep, who, if he go through, both teareth down and treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. In the morning he shall what? And at night he shall what? Divide the spoils, right? So if you got Edomites down there in them islands, man, y'all better go back to England or something, because something's gonna happen where the Most High works in the minds of men. Man's goings are of the Lord, so how can a man then understand his own way? And this is messing Esau's Sundays up. You got all these Jakes, man. Every time you turn around, there's a new camp popping up. Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thy adversaries, thy enemies, and all enemies shall be cut off on that day. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will cut off thy horses out of the midst of thee, and I will destroy thy chariots. Yeah, when you read all these precepts, right, in Numbers 1, it mentions all the tribes, the tribe of Naphtali, the tribe of Asher. Oh, this is a good one. Number 10, verse 9. And if ye go to war in your land against the enemy that oppress you, because wars come out of oppression. You oppress so much that if you go to Google and you put in a history of rebellions, that list is long. You be here all day reading it, man. And oppressions and rebellions always started when the super rich oppressed the hell out of the poor. And there was always some guy or some army that came up and they took down what do you think the French Revolution was all about? During the time of Queen, what's her name, Antoinette. And what did they do to her and her husband? They chopped both of their heads off. They chopped his head off one day, and then the next morning they chopped her damn head off. And she already knew that her husband's head was chopped off. And she had a white dress on. And when they brought her out of that prison cell, her dress was a hot mess because they were dragging her. That white dress had dirt on it. She was screaming and bitching, and they strapped her ass down and they chopped the motherfucking head off. Because those people were she made a statement, let them eat cake. What was that all about? They were saying, we have no bread to eat. So she said, okay, if you ain't got no bread, then eat cake, which was a joke. That's why they cheered when her head got chopped off. It was a public thing, man. Everybody was around. They were eating food. They were happy. And yeah, that's the main motherfucker. That's the main bitch. And she looked all fucked up. And they strapped her ass down and they whoop. Hey, hey, hey. That's the second democracy. The first democracy was 1776. The second democracy, I believe that was 1780 something. Somebody help me out. But revolutions always start with the super rich pushing the oppressed back against the wall. And that happened in China when they locked everybody down. They just locked everybody down. And then what happened the second time? The Moabites wasn't having it. They was fucking shit up. So then they had to say, you know what? We're not going to lock them down. Which we know that whole C-19 was all BS. Now they're saying it was leaked out of a lab. Okay, let me read Numbers 10 and 9. And if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppress you, all wars and rebellions start with being oppressed. What does Isaiah 14, 1 and 2 say? And we shall rule over those that have oppressed us. We shall oppress them that have oppressed us. Then ye shall blow an alarm, the trumpet. And that's what we're doing now. When we speak, we're blowing the alarm. We're blowing the alarm about the chip, the microchip. We're blowing an alarm of the Lord coming back. And the ones that hear it and come to this thing are the ones that the Most High tapped them in the head. It says, and ye shall be remembered before Yahweh, your power, and ye shall be saved from your what? Your enemies. It says that again. Take the males from the age of 20 and get them for war. And then before you go to war, who trained you for war? Your father. Your father. Teach Judah the use of the bow. Now, right here, you got to read Numbers 30 and Numbers 31. It speaks about, or maybe it's just in Numbers 31. When they went to war against the children of Midian, as a matter of fact, let me do this. Okay, it has to be. Yeah, Moses says, arm yourself for war. Let's go against the Midianites. So let me click on this. me see. Let me try this. Nope, that's not it. That's not it either. You do it this way. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, I think I found it. And the children of Israel took all the women of Midian captives and their little ones, and took the spoil of all their cattle and all their flocks and all their goods. And the children, sons of Israel, took all the women of Midian captive. What about the men? They slaughtered the men. They slaughtered the men. And these was of another nation. And they burnt all their cities wherein they dwelt, and all their goodly castles with fire. And they took all the spoils and all the prey, both of men and beasts, and they brought the captives and the prey and the spoil, and Moses and Eleazar the priest, and unto the congregation of the children of the sons of Israel, unto the camp of the plains of Moab, which are by Jordan near Jericho. And Moses and Eleazar the priest and all the princes of the congregation went forth to meet them without the camp. And Moses was wroth, mad, with the officers of the host. The captains over thousands. Remember, they established the captains over 50s, the captains over 10s, the captains over hundreds, and the captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, which came from the battle. And Moses said unto them, have ye saved all the women alive? Because he said women. What were they supposed to do with the men? Slaughter the men. Behold, these caused the children of Yasha'Allah through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against Yahweh in the matter of Peor. And there was a plague among the congregation of Yahweh. That goes into the temple prostitutes. They would have sex in the name of Baal Peor. So what did Moses say? And we're going to read it. Moses said, kill all the grown women that are married, that the women of age, because they're going to be praying to Baal Peor. Just get the little girls, and those were the little girls. And now, therefore, kill every male, slaughter all the males among the little ones. What is that talking about? What does it mean by the little ones? It's talking about the boys. 3-year-old boy, kill him. 5-year-old kid, kill him. 12-year-old, kill him. Because you had no need for him. And kill every woman that hath no man by lying with him. But all the women children that had not known a man by laying with him, keep alive for yourselves. What do you think they did with them? They were popping them. They were having children with them, man. And the children wasn't coming out half Israel and half Midianite. They were coming out full Israel. So we're reading about a slaughter right here. Moses said, by the power of the Most High, slaughter the men. Any man, kill him. A little baby, kill him. Women that have been with men, because they're praying to Baal Peor, kill them. Just take the little girls. You had 9-year-old, 8-year-old little girls, 5-year-old little girls, but you waited. You waited until they grew up. What is it called? Puberty. they experienced puberty, when they were able to have children, when they were fully developed. So that was 12, 12 years old, 13 years old. And what you think they were doing with him? They were popping him and they were having children with him. And do ye abide without the camp 7 days? Whosoever have killed any person, oh, that's beautiful. They fought the war out of the camp, right? So Moses said, don't come into the camp for 7 days. Why not come into the camp for 7 days? Because you were unclean for 7 days if you went before a dead body. Whosoever hath killed any person, and whosoever hath touched any slain, purify both yourselves and your captives on the third day. Who are the captives? The little girls. And on the seventh day, and purify all your remnant, wash your clothes, and all that is made of skin, and all work of goat's hair, and all things made of wood. Then and Eleazar the priest said unto the men of war, which went to the battle, this is the ordinance of the law which the Lord commanded Moses. And everything that may abide the fire, he shall make it go through the fire, and it shall be clean. Purified gold and silver is through fire. You ever see these gold miners? They'll take that pan and they'll take some water. Now, what are they doing? That's acid in there. What's happening is burning all the impurities, and then you're left with whatever's left is gold or silver. And then you mold the gold into a coin or jewelry. It said, nevertheless, it shall be purified with the water of separation, and all that abideth not the fire ye shall make go through the water. And ye shall wash your clothes on the seventh day, and ye shall be clean, and afterward ye shall come into the camp. I got to read more, because part of war is the spoils, the booty. That's why Jake used to call girls booty. I'm gonna get some booty, and booty just means spoil. It's a division of the booty. It says, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, take the sum of the prey that was taken, both of men and of beasts, thou and Eleazar the priest, and the chief fathers of the congregation, and divide the prey into two parts between them that took and the war upon. Now they just said, the previous verses said, kill all the men who went out to battle, and between all the congregation. And levy a tribute unto Yahweh, your tithes and your offering of the men of war, which went out to battle. So you took care of your men of war. One soul of 500, both of persons, and of the beavis, I gotta look that word up, and the asses, and of the sheep. So the men that fought war, they were taken care of, man. Take it off their half and give it unto Eleazar the priest for an heave offering of the Lord. That's your offering, your tithes and your offering. And that included money. So we were people that you gave your tithe, you gave your offerings to the Levites, and you gave to the other Israelites. You took care of your women, you took care of the other men. There were certain men that didn't fight wars, like the Levites. So they had to get paid some type of way. Even though Levi were warriors, they were the ones that held swords to protect the cattle. And if any man, any Israel, when he went into the going into the promised land, Jake wasn't supposed to touch that cattle. And if they did, they got their heads chopped off by the Levites, because the Levites are warriors too, but they could not fight. But based upon the law, Levites could not fight in any battle because they're the priests. So the spoils of war first went to the priests. Anyway, let me move on. And see, this is kind of going into the history. Okay, I'm over here. Psalms 18:34, he teaches my hands to war so that a bow of steel is broken by my arms. That's martial arts right there. King David was nice with his hands. For by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war, and in multitude of counsels there is safety. Okay, this is how you prove that these small hats are not the people. Really, you got to start from the second verse. And he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. So them people over there in the land of Israel that established the land in 1948, there's been wars going on. There's been hundreds from 1948 until now. There's been hundreds of wars that are still going on that the news doesn't pick up. Isaiah 3 verse 2, you can start from 1. It said the mighty men, the men of war, the judge didn't fight wars, and the prophets didn't fight wars, and the prudent and the ancient. Prudent are the smart, the wise men, the teachers, the Levites. Therefore, her young men shall fall in her streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith Yahweh of hosts. That's Esau's punishment. Jeremiah 50, verse 30, therefore shall her young men, talking about the same thing, fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord of hosts. You know what I'm gonna do? You need to read the whole chapter. But let's go a chapter above that. Let's go 2 chapters above that. The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, that's some super rich that they're gonna go to the neutral countries to declare in Zion the vengeance of Yahweh, our power, the vengeance of his temple. Call together the archers, the modern day archers are what? Represents the missiles against Babylon. That's the lake of fire, by the way. Ain't no hell that you burn forever in. The lake of fire is John looking down, seeing Babylon on fire. All ye that bend the bow, the modern bow is a silo, camp against it round about. And I said in the previous video the other day that those missiles are going to come from they're going to come on the east side of America. They're going to come from the east and they're going to come from the west. So, because it says roundabout, right? Roundabout, gather round about, camp against it, Babylon roundabout, let none thereof escape. Because when they have that, they blow that alarm, ain't nobody gonna be able to escape. It's gonna be chaos. Now, Bishop Nathaniel said that Israel's gonna be destroyed by the missiles first, and then 7 hours later, America's gonna be destroyed because he's going by the theory of the 12 noon thing. So it's gonna be 12 noon in Israel, 7 hours before it's 12 noon in America. So everybody's gonna be talking about the news. Oh, Israel is gone. It's destroyed, totally, utterly destroyed. And in 7 years, oh my God, America's no. That's not talking about that. It's not talking about actual 12 noon. It's talking about the pinnacle of Esau's power. When he shall begin to fill his belly, Job 20th chapter. So that's all that's left for this devil. It said, call, 29th verse, call together the archers against Babylon. And what's beautiful is, see, vocab can't see it. He can't see that Babylon is the U.S. You got certain Edomite Christian pastors that say that Babylon is his place. All ye that bend the bow, all of whether it be the Chinese, the Russians, the people of Iran, the people of anybody that possesses missiles, the missiles were built for one reason and one reason alone, and that's to destroy this current system. Camp against, round about it, let none therefore escape, recompense her, pay her back, her according to her works, as in Revelation 18, according to all that she have done, do unto her, for she, Revelation 18 says double, for she have, Babylon have been proud against Yahweh, against the Holy One of Yasha'Allah. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and most of them are going to fall over there in Saudi Arabia, what is called Saudi Arabia, between the Red Sea and the great river, the river Euphrates. Now, one of the brothers, up and coming brothers / elder, he's not an elder yet, Arya, he did a video on the Omega. There's an Omega in the Euphrates, and he showed a picture of the Euphrates, and he showed the image of the Omega symbol, and that's what's there. It's the actual Omega symbol in the river Euphrates, because that represents what? The end. That's a key place. And there's all kind of articles on Euphrates drying up to prepare the way of the kings. It's mentioned in Revelation 9, and it's also mentioned in Revelation 16. And it says in Revelation 9 that the 4 archangels are hovering around that area, which is the Middle East, the Great Levant. And that's where all the nations are going to, something's going to happen where all these different nations that possess these missiles, they're going to all meet in the Persian, not the Persian Gulf, but in the Levant. It said there, it's the 30th verse, therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith Yahweh. Joel 2. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud. The pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwelleth in the cliffs of the rocks. Saith Yahweh of hosts, for thy day is come, the time that I will what? Visit thee. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall rise him up. and I will kindle a fire, the lake of fire, in his cities. And so New York, California, Chicago, all the cities in between, Florida, New Mexico, North Dakota, South Dakota, Maine, Vermont, Mass. It says, and it shall devour all round about him. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the sons of Yasha'Allah and the sons of Judah will press together. So all the tribes are here. So when you got a scholar, matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna get ready to close, but let me see what they say about this. Let me see what they say about this in the commentary. Okay, let me find the page. You know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. Let me go right here. All right, this is a Bible hub. Okay, now if you notice, Cambridge Bible for schools and colleges, they didn't say nothing on this. They didn't have an answer. The Babylonian oppressors act like Pharaoh of old. They didn't have an answer. They ain't saying too much. Because if they were to tell the truth, they would have to say this is yet to happen. Because there's no record in the ancient world of the two kingdoms coming back together. I know they ain't gonna say nothing. Let me see, at the end of the 32 pause occurs, the prophets take up the time, blah, 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 or oppress, rather are oppressed because the oppressor of Israel, oppressors still continue, whereas Israel has by this time been amply punished for her transgression. Jehovah will himself interpose. He is, in fact, Israelites, Goel, rememberer. They didn't say they playing games. Oppressed together here signifies no more than that they were both oppressed or alike oppressed. No, oppressed together meaning they were together. That's talking about now. All the tribes, all the 12 tribes are here. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say Shalom.